people are breathlessly talking about the SpaceX breaking the not the deal price, but the first trade price,
Yeah.
and that looks bad. That looks bad. And I'm watching Palantir hit new lows. So there's a lot of darlings that are getting shot, and I think people are running out of places to hide. And the semis are about as extended over their opportunity as they've ever been. And so yeah, it doesn't take much to people
Google
say,
getting hit in the nose. Google getting hit in the nose yesterday by what, 5-6%. That's a big move for Google.
yeah. But that's a
So
that's a decent that's one of the best looking charts out there. But there's a lot of damage being done. Netflix is taking out new lows. Palantir is taking out new lows. Um, it's but why today? I have no idea. No idea. And no, I don't think anybody does.
yeah. Is there anything on your shopping list, Bakes, that if we get a 5%, 5 to 10% move here, you start nibbling on?
What I'm doing is I'm going to bring up today I mean, first of all, BITI is I've crossed it off my shopping list. This is short Bitcoin via the futures, which is not a perfect way to do it, and I don't recommend it. So I'm doing it with 10% of my portfolio, and I don't necessarily recommend anybody else do it. But if I had a better way to short Bitcoin, I would. But I've got to deal with the ETFs that I have. But this is, clearly to me, especially the longer term, that's a reversal in trend and a pretty impressive one, especially when you see the volume corresponding down on the bottom. So this gets the daily move, the inverse of the daily move of the Bitcoin futures. Okay,
Yep.
so that caught my attention. And then I look at Bitcoin itself, and I do it via GBTC since that's the granddaddy of it all, as Keith Jackson would say. And this corresponds to Bitcoin. The Bitcoin ETFs have had $6 billion fly out the window, and I'm just trying to think of if I'm an RIA that said, we finally have an ETF that we can buy Bitcoin, and I got you in a year ago. I'm having a really tough second quarter conversation right now. And I got to believe people say, just get this off my screen. I don't want to
Yeah.
talk about it anymore. We made a mistake. Let's go on. That's what I think is going on. My suspicion is most people are saying, the long term scarcity story is there, and it's eventually it always comes back from these prior, but the reasons why it's going to come back are getting more and more feeble as I listen to people. Now it's, well, AI it took our money, and so once the AI trade is over, the money's going to flow back into Bitcoin. That's basically what Saylor and Rick Edelman said on different
Right.
podcasts the other day. And I kind of go, you doth protesteth too much, in my opinion. So the case, this could be the bottom, and the winter could be over. There's so many people praying for that are long over their skis that I think it's probably going to break. And what I'm looking at right now is this 4588 level on GBTC, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, been around the longest. And it looks to me, look at this. I mean, that's the Matterhorn right there, or the Christmas tree of death, as our good friend Jeff Mackey would say.
For
So
sure.
if it really becomes a Christmas tree of death, it's going to be at a close below 4588. For Bitcoin itself, it's 59,884. And I know it trades at 24/7, but you get the idea. The more time it spends under 60, which it has not spent much time there at all, but if it gets under 60, then you're going to have some people saying, I'm not a disciple anymore, and get me out. And when that happens, it's going to be a hell of a whoosh that takes this down. And this is MicroStrategy, which has a software company that they tell me throws off enough cash flow to pay the dividends. I have a hard time buying that, but um, this is MicroStrategy. That's a sick looking chart. People are trying to defend this 104.17 level that you see over here, two earnings reports ago. And here we are at 107.60. And that's not that far away. So a close below 104.17 means to me that the thesis is really, really wounded to broken for Bitcoin, and I'm ready accordingly.
I haven't
So
heard much
you're not
lately
buying, you're
about
not
the.
buying it here. You're just waiting to see if it breaks down first.
Sorry.
You're not buying it here, Bitcoin or Grayscale. You're just waiting to see if it breaks down first.
I am short the BITI already, and I've made a little bit of money because of initial breaks. But I'm
Well, you're
looking for
long BITI, which is short Bitcoin.
yes, and I want to see this come above 29.64, so 28.94, and to confirm that. But this to me looks like a change in sentiment and a change in trend. And I'm just looking for confirmation of those levels that I mentioned in MicroStrategy and Bitcoin itself. And then I'm waiting to have the podcast really turn apoplectic. Like this is a conspiracy. What's wrong? The Clarity Act is going to save us. And listen, I could be wrong. This could be the bottom, and it's successfully defended, and it could go to the upside, and I lose 15% of my money on this 10% position. That could happen. I'm not naive, but after 17 years, Bitcoin has run out of narratives. As far as I'm concerned, war doesn't make it go up. The Nasdaq doesn't make it go up. Inflation doesn't make it go up. Gold, it doesn't track gold. So I'm sorry, Mrs. Lincoln, but the play, I don't like it.
It doesn't. I haven't seen much lately about the mics, the margin calls that were supposed to start happening below 60,000 for Sailor. Have you seen anything
He
lately on that?
the way and I think he's not an idiot. I mean, he's actually very smart. There aren't specific triggers. The way I understand is that the debt is structured so that he's not going to put out there in the prospectus, oh, we got a
Right. It's
we got a
this
we got a
price.
problem below
Right.
below 60,000 or something like that. So
Yeah.
it might not be margin calls. It might just be I've got to sell some to make this preferred dividend payment. But I don't know what's going on. And then all the copycats that have become Bitcoin treasury companies. What are they doing? So I'm looking at all this. I haven't gone through everything exhaustively, but that's why I'm looking at that close. If we see a close below that low of this MicroStrategy, then people say, you know how Wall Street works. They get the Bloomberg out and they say, okay, who can we press to make their life miserable? And
Yes. Run the stops.
right. I mean, once there's blood in the water, the
Yep.
sharks come.
More to
And
come.
I think there's some blood in the water, and I'm waiting for more of a
All
pond of
right.
blood in
So
the
if
water.
if you're thinking about buying Bitcoin here, take a pause. Is what you're saying. Take a
I
pause. Let's see what this
and
thing
I,
does.
I'm I'm more on the others. Yeah, that's a given. I wouldn't touch it. But if you bought into this during when you opened your Robinhood account in 2020 and you own this and you got on to all the podcasts and you listened to all the sailor speeches and you read the Satoshi paper, you know I know what happens when people believe something, and then that belief is dashed. Then you get
Yeah.
really violent moves to the downside, and I think that's what's going to happen. I could be wrong. Again, if it holds this level and starts to roar back on huge volume, which it shows no indication of doing, then I've got a different problem on my hand, and that's why I don't lose a lot of money. If I'm down 15%, I am gone, and I mean I will mercilessly get out of a losing position. But I just say this because I want people to get the popcorn out, and I don't mean ill of anybody, but this is a big boys game. If and when you see those closes below those levels I mentioned, and people say, I hate Sailor and I hate Rick Edelman, and I'm selling Bitcoin with both hands, my suspicion is that the elevator is going to drop dramatically versus the
Yeah.
escalator up.
And Kevin, just for new people, is your 15% rule from your basis, or are you raising your stops along the way as you have gains, or how do you do that? Is it just a
I
simple?
okay. That's from my initial purchase price, and the same would be the case if I did a short. But I literally get up. I come back home at night, look at my screen. If I see down 15%, that position is not going to be there in the morning.
So that's
Okay,
down 15 from your cost basis.
from my cost, I am
Got it.
gone.
Okay.
Because I've seen this. I can find 20% winners to get back up to 100. But what happens is, and we've all done it, myself included. Okay, it's the reason it's down 20% is X. Well, the reason it's down 30% is Y. The reason it's down 50% is Z. And now
50
you've
can
got
still
to
go
double,
down 50.
and what are you doing? You're spending all your time lamenting the dumb mistake you made holding on to this 50% loser.
Yep.
And I try to cut it up at a different level so that I don't waste my time.
Hi, I'm David Maris. If you like what you just heard, we've tracked every single pick we make on the show, every ticker, every thesis, every entry price, over 1,100 picks and counting. We put it together in a free report with our top 10 performers, the reasoning behind each one, and a preview of our full dashboard. If you want access, the link is in the description.